व्यासं वसिष्ठनप्तारं शक्त्रे पौत्रमकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकतातं तपोनिधिं व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वातिष्ठाय नमो नमः. I bow down to Vyasa Maharishi before we start on this course. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं चैव ततो जयं मुदीरयेत्. So when we start on the Mahabharata, we generally chant this. The Mahabharata of Vyasa Maharishi is also called Jaya because it deals with success in all our endeavors. So it's also called the Bharata. There is a Puranic legend associated with this that goes like this. The four Vedas were weighed on one side and Mahabharata alone on the other side was equal, in fact greater, to the weight of the four Vedas. So it's also called the fifth Veda. It's so powerful. That's why it's popularly said, what is there in the Mahabharata can be found elsewhere. What is not there in the Mahabharata cannot be found anywhere. That's not a statement of arrogance. That shows clarity, depth. So each time you read the Mahabharata, more and more dimensions open up to you. You would have seen, if you take up some book and read it, multiple times some books you would not be able to read it. Once, done. Even movies, once, done. Some movies or some books, a little more, okay. So what we can read multiple times, we call them reference work. So we just refer to it whenever we want to. But Mahabharata is much more than that. Our Shastras are much deeper than that. So the Mahabharata contains 18 parvas or chapters, sections. In this session, we will look at an overview of the storyline. I will quickly run you through the overall storyline. Then each week we will look parva by parva. So it starts with the Adi Parva. So it starts with Ugrashrava Sauti. Sauti is one who narrates the stories, just like I am doing it now. But just that there are important qualifications to being a Sauti. It's not just that you are a storyteller, but in order to narrate the story, you need to be in a certain level of inner purity. You need to have undergone a certain depth of sadhana. Otherwise, they will be mere words which will not have the necessary impact on oneself as well as on those who listen. So Ugrashrava goes to Naimisharanya, Naimisha forest. There are so many rishis assembled there. And they ask him to narrate the Mahabharata. So he starts out that when King Janamejaya started on the snake sacrifice, Sarpa Yajna, there Vyasa's very own disciple, Vaisampayana, he narrated the Mahabharata for everybody's benefit, especially Janamejaya's. Because Janamejaya was going on a path of revenge. He wanted to take revenge on all these snakes, especially Takshaka, for having killed his father, Parikshit, who was the son of Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was the son of Arjuna. So the great grandson of Pandavas. So Vaishampayana started out with the Adi Parva, the beginning of beginnings. There, the story of creation is narrated. So much more is narrated. But we will start with Shantanu. Shantanu's son is Bhishma, earlier known as Devavrata. Devavrata next leads to Dhritarashtra, Pandav and Vidura, and then the Kauravas and Pandavas. So we start with Shantanu. Shantanu got married to Ganga, Ma Ganga, the embodied form of the celestial river. And he was devoted to his wife. Before becoming husband and wife, Ma Ganga mentioned clearly that he should never question any of her actions. Once he questions her actions, she would quit. She would leave the matrimony. And Shantanu agreed. So they had a very good time. Every time a son would be born to them, Ganga would drown the kid in Ganga, in the river Ganga. Every time this happened, and the whole kingdom was shocked. But Shantanu could not open his mouth because of his agreement. But the 8th time was just too much. So he stopped. He questioned her. And she said, she was in fact sad. She said, you should understand the right reason behind these actions. In fact, Vasishtha had cursed the 8 Vasus to be born on earth, and they needed an appropriate womb to be born on earth. And I agreed to be their mother. But I had agreed that I would liberate the first 7 Vasus immediately upon birth. Vasishtha had mainly cursed the 8th Vasu. Vasus are divine beings. The 8th Vasu with a long life on earth. And how? A prosperous life. So the curse was not in terms of you become unprosperous. So lead a prosperous life, but just being a human is sufficient punishment for you. You know. So the 8th one was Devavrata. Ganga said she would bring him up. 16 years she brought him up, gave him training under the best rishis, Vasishtha, Parashurama and so on. And then at the end of 16 years, she presented him to Shantanu. Shantanu was so devoted to his son, long lost son. One day when he was out, he smelled Gandhavati, and then he saw her, the exquisite beauty called Gandhavati, also popularly known as Satyavati. Satyavati, who was the child of Matsya, golden fish. Out of the golden fish come out 2 children. One is the Matsya Raja, one becomes the Matsya Raja. Another is taken up by the king of fishermen, and that is Satyavati. So Satyavati is exquisitely beautiful. She is also the mother of Vyasa. So Vyasa Maharishi is born to Parashara and Satyavati because of a divine ordinance. So Shantanu goes to her father, asks him for Satyavati's hands, and he responds, see, I have no problem, you are the Kuru king. That's wonderful. It's an honor that my daughter would become the queen. It's an honor for us. But I have conditions before I accept her. So Satyavati's father, foster father, not the real father, foster father responds, I need Satyavati's children to become the future kings. For which Shantanu cannot agree because he already has Devavrata. So he returns back without acknowledging. And he's forlorn. And Devavrata can sense it. What's happened to my father? He's worried. And when he approaches his father says, see son, you are my only son. Anytime anything could happen to you, what will I do if you are not there? So I need more sons. Devavrata clearly sees through this logic. So he takes the king's, Shantanu is the king, the king's charioteer, goes to Satyavati and asks Satyavati's father for her hand for her father, for his father, Shantanu. Again, Satyavati's father, foster father, says, you can take her, but on one condition. The condition is that her children should become the future kings. Devavrata just penetrates through that. He can clearly see the man's intentions, his greed. Without flinching, he immediately says, so be it. And that is terrible. You're giving up all opportunities and everything that you have been trained for till now. You have been trained to be a king. He just gave it up in one instant. And not just that. Satyavati's father makes one more demand. He says, okay, you have given it up very easily. You are a high soul. But what about your children? What is the guarantee that they will not claim the throne? No, Bhishma is what he is called. Because he takes this vow that he will be a lifelong brahmachari, celibate. He will not marry, not have children. That is something very, very difficult to even understand. Because for people at that time, putra means so much. Even now it means so much. Marriage means so much. You're just giving it up. And hence, there were divine voices heard that called him Bhishma, the terrible. From then on, he is called Bhishma. So Bhishma takes Satyavati, and Shantanu and Satyavati are married. Children are born to them, Chitrangada, Vichitravirya. Chitrangada is challenged by a Gandharva namesake, and he is killed by the Gandharva. Now there is only Vichitravirya. In order to marry Vichitravirya off, or rather get appropriate brides for Vichitravirya, Bhishma goes to the Swayamvara of Kashi Raja, and there is Amba, Ambika, Ambalika. He picks them off, comes back, and marries Ambika and Ambalika. Amba is not ready for the marriage, so she is let off. That's a auxiliary story. Amba is rejected wherever she goes, and hence she takes a vow that she will be the end of Bhishma. She does tremendous tapasya, gets boons from Shankara, and she is later reborn as Shikandi. So that's Shikandi becomes the future cause of Bhishma's death. So Bhishma marries Ambika, Ambalika to Vichitravirya, and they are a happy couple. So they have a very good time. But before delivering a child, Vichitravirya is gone off from the world. Now again, Bhishma, Satyavati, everybody is terribly shocked. This is a huge disaster. First Chitrangada, now Vichitravirya. So Satyavati approaches Bhishma saying, you should sire children on Ambika, Ambalika. Please do that. Otherwise our entire Kuru dynasty will be extinct. Bhishma says nothing doing. So Satyavati calls for Vyasa. So Vyasa has given her a boon, stating, you just remember me and I will appear before you. And he appears. Satyavati says, please do this for me. Ambika, Ambalika, you need to sire children on them. Vyasa says, okay, let them prepare for 1 year and then they will be ready to receive me. Satyavati is in a hurry. She says, no, nothing doing. And hence Vyasa is compelled. Ambika cannot stand Vyasa. Vyasa is a great tapasvi, but he is not a normal man. He is super normal. Ambika shuts her eyes and hence Dhritarashtra is born blind. Ambalika is pale with fear. When you have an awesome being like Vyasa, you are awestruck. She is pale with fear and hence Pandu is born pale. Satyavati pleads with Vyasa, just one more time. Now I will really teach my, daughter-in-law Ambika a lesson before sending her to you. But Ambika sends her maid, a Shudra woman, and she is free of any of these intellectual training that these upper classes have. So Vidura is born, who is super intelligent but who cannot be king because of certain restrictions. So Dhritarashtra cannot be king because he is born blind, physical deformity. So Pandu assumes the throne. He is a very good king. Then he is married in to Gandhari. Sorry, not Gandhari. Kunti and Madri. A tragedy again strikes. Along with Kunti Madri, Pandu has gone to the forest. There he kills a rishi and he curses him that if he approaches any woman, he will die. Now Kunti has received a boon from sage Durvasa. So from Durvasa, because she served Durvasa so well that he was very happy with her, he gave her a boon. In order to test out the boon, Kunti tried the mantra with Suryadeva, and she had to bear a child with Suryadeva, and that is Karna. That was before she got married to Pandu. So she had to let go of Karna, and he was taken up by Radha and Atirata. Now Pandu urges her to use the mantra again, and hence she uses the mantra with Dharmadeva, and Yudhishthira is born. Yet again with Vayudeva, and Bhima is born. Yet again with Indra, and Arjuna is born. Now Madri cannot see this silently because she has been sidelined. So she asks for the mantra and she is given the mantra. And she births Nakula and Sahadeva through the Ashwini Kumaras. So that's how the Pancha Pandavas come onto the earth. Then Pandu, in a fit of passion, is killed by the curse, and Madri goes along with him in the funeral pyre. So Kunti is left with the Pancha Pandavas. The Pandavas grow up in the forest with rishis. They become extremely resourceful because it's harsh life, forest life. Simultaneously, if we look at Hastinapura, where the Kuru dynasty is anchored, the capital of the Kuru dynasty, there Gandhari has delivered 100 sons and 1 daughter. 100 sons. So those are the Kauravas, Duryodhana being the eldest of that. In this, what has happened is Yudhishthira is born first and then Duryodhana. So Kauravas grow up in all splendor, palatial comfort, and Pandavas grow up in harsh forest, being resourceful. You cannot survive there without being resourceful. Everything is a constraint. And then at an appropriate stage, the rishis bring the Pandavas and Kunti to Hastinapura, and everyone welcomes them warmly. As soon as they step in, Duryodhana clearly sees that Bhima is much superior to him in prowess. Till then, he was strong, he was the strongest. No, he had no equal. But now Bhima can easily overcome him in anything. And the Pandavas are super good at anything they take up. And hence, the seeds of envy start growing in Duryodhana, which eventually lead to the war, the Kurukshetra war. So they grow up together, and Drona appears on the scene. Drona, who imagines that he has been wronged by Drupada, he wants revenge against Drupada, and he clearly sees that the Pandavas can achieve it. If he aligns along with the Kauravas and Pandavas, they can achieve what he wants, the revenge. So he comes to Hastinapura, and he is taken in immediately because he is terrific, he is superb. So he teaches the Kauravas and Pandavas, and his favorite student is Arjuna. So after the training is over, there is a display of arms, and in that the climax is Arjuna's display. But after Arjuna's display, there is this sound that is heard, and people look at Karna, who is blazing, and he displays his powers, which are even better than Arjuna's. But when it comes to face off between Suryaputra, Karna, and Indraputra, Arjuna, Arjuna is royal lineage, but Karna is a Sutaputra, that means a charioteer's son, not exactly royal blood, and hence people look at him condescendingly. That's when Duryodhana steps in, adopts him as his friend, and makes him king of Anga. Then things start turning differently. Now Duryodhana becomes strong because he has seen Karna and he has seen his prowess, and he is sure that he can defeat the Pandavas using Karna. He no longer need to fear. So after the display, Drona has his sweet revenge against Drupada, and Drupada, having been humiliated in defeat at Drona's hand, especially Arjuna's hand, he conducts a yajna where he has Drishtadyumna. He prays for Drishtadyumna, who will be the killer of Drona. And he also prays for a daughter who can marry Arjuna, because Arjuna is a powerful ally. So Draupadi is born. Drishtadyumna and Draupadi are fire born out of the Yajna, Yajna Kunda. Earlier, because of the envy that Duryodhana is burning with, he tries various means and methods to eliminate the Pandavas. He tries putting in poisonous cobras when they are asleep. They escape. He tries drowning Bhima. he escapes and becomes super strong because of the boons he receives from Vasuki, the king of Nagas. Like this, various attempts have failed, and Pandavas and Kauravas have grown up. Now Duryodhana tries something very serious. Using his minister Purochana, he builds a Jatugriha, a house of wax, lac, inflammable material. And he asks his father, Dhritarashtra, to send the Pandavas along with Kunti off to Varanavata, where this palace has been built. Dhritarashtra, though he is intelligent, though he understands dharma and everything, he does this. He agrees to this. So he becomes an accomplice in murder, in attempted murder. He cannot restrain his son, and that is tragic. So what happens is they are sent off to Varanavata. There in Varanavata, they have been informed by Vidura before leaving that be careful. So a miner is sent there, he helps them escape, and others are burnt. But the whole world is convinced that it was the design of Duryodhana. But what to do? They have been lost, or so the world thinks. But they escape safely. And that's when, Bhima also gets married to Hidimbi during the forest passage. He eliminates Hidimba and gets married to Hidimbi, and they have Gatotkacha, their son. Then various events happen, and they go to Ekachakra, a village, a sleepy village, but now which has been traumatized by the appearance of a Rakshasa, Bakasura, Asura. So Bhima helps eliminate Bakasura, and then they hear of the Swayamvara of Draupadi. They go there. Arjuna wins the hands of Draupadi, the wonderful Draupadi. Draupadi is described as Krishna, the dark beauty. Krishna is our hero, our superhero, our Purnavatara, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. He also enters the scene there. Then because of Kunti's statement, the brothers have to marry Draupadi together. And then they are invited back to Hastinapura. Dhritarashtra receives them. And then he decides, okay, this has gone too far. Duryodhana's folly has become too much well known. So he says, why don't you rule from Khandavaprastha? In his magnanimity, he gives a dessert, a good for nothing dessert, which is half the area of the Kuru dynasty, to Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira agrees. With the help of Krishna, Indraprastha is set up. And they have a wonderful time together. While setting up Indraprastha, which has now become the Pandavas' capital, Krishna and Arjuna actually burn the Khandava forest, help Agni burn the Khandava forest. And some people escape, out of which Maya also escapes, Mayasura. He helps build the Maya Sabha. And with the help of his brothers, Yudhishthira conducts the Rajasuya Yajna. There, Duryodhana's envy knows no limitations. On getting back, he builds the Jayanta Sabha and invites the Yudhishthira and team for a game of dice. There they lose because of deceit, and they are sent to forest. Draupadi is badly abused, and everyone takes a vow, saying they will be the end of the Kauravas and all those associated with the Kauravas. That's where the bitter enmity comes forth completely. And then they spend a very difficult time in the forest. But that's also the opportunity for Arjuna to become stronger. He gets Devastras and even Pashupatastra from Shankara himself. At the end, they have to spend 1 year in incognito. So they go to Virata Desha. So there, 1 year, they are not discovered. At the end of a year, the Kurus, along with the Trigartas, attack Virata Desha, and Arjuna single-handedly mauls the Kauravas. And then, comes the most important part. Yudhishthira asks for the land, the kingdom that is legitimately his, which is Indraprastha. There is back and forth, envoys sent, even Krishna pleads, but Duryodhana says nothing doing, not even a single needle point of land will be given to you, and hence war is declared. War is prepared. Bhishma is the commander-in-chief of the Kauravas, Drishtadyumna is made the commander-in-chief of the Pandavas. The war goes on full-fledged. Finally, Duryodhana is eliminated. And Yudhishthira at the end of the war is so, his heart is completely broken, seeing all this carnage. Is kingdom really worth it? Is his question. But he is convinced to rule. 36 years he rules in Dharma. And finally, even Krishna, Yadavas come to an end. The Pandavas also see no point in continuing further. And they go on the Swargarohana. They climb up to heaven. And that's how the whole storyline goes. At the end of it, one clearly sees the Pandavas have not gained anything. The Kauravas have not gained anything. So many people have lost their lives. And hence, what's the point in all this? That's where Vyasa Maharshi clearly states that this is Dharma. Dharma, if it is followed, that leads to harmony, inner and outer harmony. If there is adharma, then it leads to conflict. Now the world over we see so much conflict between individuals, conflict between husbands and wives, conflict between families, conflicts between states, conflicts between nations, and more so, inner conflicts. One is full of conflicts. So how do we solve these conflicts? That's where Dharma becomes a very, very important point. So this is the overall storyline of the Mahabharata. So in the weeks to come, we will look at the detailed storyline, and I'm sure all of us through this will reap immense benefits in our lives, achieve prosperity, inner and outer, and may that prosperity and happiness spread to everyone around us, and may this world be peaceful. Thank you.